Joining me is One Nation leader Pauline Hanson. Pauline Hanson, thanks for your time. How big is this decision for you by the WA Liberals to preference your party above even the Nationals?
It's great. It's a great deal for One Nation, and it looks like it will get us some seats in the upper house in Western Australia. I said right from the very start, Andrew, that I will do whatever, I need it to do to get One Nation candidates elected to Parliament, and that's what it is. Let's go back to what this is about. They're talking about preferences to shore up Colin Barnett. Doesn't necessarily shore up Colin Barnett. The vote still belongs to the voter. Everyone who goes to vote on election day at that ballot box can put their number 1 where they want it, the number 2 where they want it, number 3 and so forth. So I don't own their preferences in the Assembly. It's the voters that own their preferences.
Well, it sounds like to me that the Liberals are finally admitting you're not the devil. You're not the worst, and I suspect there are more deals to come. Michael Kroger, the Liberal president in Victoria, was suggesting that he'd make a deal, and the Queensland Liberal Nationals also seem open to a deal. Do you expect to sign some?
Look, I expect to hear from them, of course. They know that they're struggling in the state. Look, it's all come about because once I've been elected into the Senate, I've been working with the coalition. I don't vote with them on everything, and the whole fact is that they can work with me. I'm approachable. I understand it, the policies, what they're trying to do, and that's what they find about me. I'm not this extremist, and if they're going to get policies through to pull back on the welfare payments and try and pull it back in to bring the debt back, this is where they get the support from One Nation. They don't get it from Xenophon, they don't get it from Hinch, they don't get it from the Greens, and if we don't start turning this country around, heaven help us what's going to happen in the future for our kids and future generations.
Now, you say you're not extremists. Labor was today saying you were. A number of questions in Parliament today. And look, to be honest, you've had candidates now that and you've sacked them, admittedly, publishing claims that Port Arthur massacre was a con, attacking gays as abnormal. You had Senator Rod Culledon stripped of his seat for being a bankrupt. Isn't it true that while you personally are hugely popular, that you do attract some very strange people wanting to be politicians?
Before I came along, then who were they attached to anyway? Look at some of the other political parties and the candidates that they've had in the past, So they've all had their problems. Gordon Nuttall, whether it's corruption, Craig Thompson, you can go through a list of them. The other political parties have problems as well. You can only vet a person so much. Then after that, you don't know what they're going to come out and what they're going to say. All political parties face the same problems, but they're focusing on me because they are so determined to actually get rid of me, to discredit my party. Yes, we're going to have a few hiccups, and I know that, by all means. But as I build the strong foundations for the party and grow it over the next few years, we'll iron that all out. No, nothing's smooth running when you just start up a new party.
But this is what I think goes to what's your big challenge, and perhaps it's a challenge of, too much success, growing too fast. You now have 23% support in Queensland, and you could even help form government this year. Now, isn't it absolutely critical that you get far more quality candidates who could be one day potential premiers? You don't have any looking around at the moment.
Well, I'm sorry. In Queensland, we've got Steve Dixon. He's come across. He's got 10 years' experience, former minister in the LNP government. We've got Sam Cox, who's standing up at the Burdekin. He's actually has stood in the Parliament. And then you've got, I can't think of his name at the moment, Symes. He's another one who's been a former member of Parliament. We have experience there already. Yes, everyone has to learn by all means, but if we are in coalition government, that would be fantastic if we can do that, because, Andrew, it is so badly needed in Queensland. Both sides have no direction, no vision, where the state needs to go. We can get industries, manufacturing, small business moving. They're screaming out. Tourism needs to be addressed in Queensland as well. You've got water, a big problem. Agriculture, the farmers, coal seam gas mining, all these things. You'll only get good government if you have got good opposition. And my policies, they have a go at me about multiculturalism, racist and all the rest of it. That's all they can throw out there. There is no backup to their accusations about me. Yet it's all right for them to pick up my policies, and this has happened over the years from whoever. So I am putting different policies and visions out there that they all want to pick up. I go and speak to Bill Shorten. He picks my brains about policies. What would you do about this or that? He has meetings. He said, I want to keep these meetings going with you. The Labor Party have contacted us through the Mineral Council. They said,
Really?
They said, look, yeah. And Moorhead from the Labor Party rang up my staff and he said, listen, we want to do deals. We won't run candidates. Don't you run One Nation candidates in our seats, and we won't run against you and your stronghold. And then in Western Australia, they actually want to go through, oh, let's do this hush-hush, nice and quiet, through the Mineral Council to do deals over in WA. They're a bunch of hypocrites. And you know, people have had a gutful of them. At least with me, you see, you know, what you get is what you see.
Pauline, with your party now within touching distance of the big two, LNP and Labor in Queensland, would you ever consider switching to Queensland politics if you could become Premier?
Oh, I'm having too much fun in the Senate with my three. No.
Well, Andrew, can I go to?
That's what they're trying to say. I think I've just got my feet underneath the table here in the Senate. I've got still 5.5 years to go here. The whole fact is that I think nationally we need to make changes nationally. You know, we need to address our immigration numbers coming in. We need to address our welfare. We need foreign ownership of our land. We've got, you know, so many issues there that we need to address it nationally. That's where I think my strength is. Stick nationally, deal with that. Try and fix the nation as a whole. States, they'll look after themselves. And I don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. I'll still have my little bit of an input into the states.
No, Malcolm Turnbull's heart fell. But listen, last year you had to cancel a meeting in Melbourne with Conservative Jews when Victoria Police said they couldn't guarantee safety of the crowd from violent left-wing protesters. Well, on Saturday, more violent protesters stopped people from getting onto a bus to go hear Senator Cory Bernardi, another Conservative. And for 90 minutes, this crowd held up the bus while police did nothing, didn't force their way through the crowd for the people to get on. Is it now too dangerous in Victoria for politicians like you, Conservatives, to hold events in the open?
It's getting that way. That happened 20 years ago, where they actually had the militants and the lefties and the rat bags that used to turn up and protest. It's all right for them to oppose, you know, have their say, but anyone who opposes their thoughts, they want to shut you down. It's not right, and I believe anyone should have freedom of speech to go and say without, you know, inciting violence on anyone else. This is what it's about, but they're shutting us down. Our democracy and freedom of speech has been stripped away from us. And, you know, to think that the police stood by, didn't do anything about it, and that is so wrong in itself. So we're being taken over by the lefties, the extremists in this country.
Well, I think freedom of assembly seems to be under threat, and the Victoria Police need to get a crackdown. Yeah. I don't see this happening in any other states, really, not as how often as it happens here. But listen, also, there's a thing that Peter Credden will be on the show later and I have been wondering about. Malcolm Turnbull won a lot of praise last week for calling Labor leader Bill Shorten a social climbing sycophant and a parasite and all sorts of abuse. Do you think that's helped him as much as journalists say? No. No, I don't. I've always maintained a manner on the floor of Parliament that I think that people are screaming out for. They're sick of, and I hear it all the time, why do they carry on all the time? Why are the politicians like that? You know, they're worse than school kids, and it's not portraying the right image I think that we need to portray to the public on the floor of Parliament. I think he had his rant, I think he had his say, just try to flex his muscles. But is that a good look? I don't think so. You've got to attack Labor on their policies. If he's going to have a go at them, have a go at these policies. Explain to the people why Labor's policies aren't going to work compared to what, you know, the Liberals' policies.
they've got to start getting into stop getting to gutter politics and personalities, and it's actually got to prove why you are the best person to run government. People want to know what you're going to do for the country. Forget about what they're saying. Just ignore it. Tell them what you're going to do for the country.
Well, on that, I mean, my editorial is about the Liberals having their old strategy of just being not quite as bad as Labor and thinking they'll cover all the Conservative votes because they had nowhere to go to. Well, now they've got you. The Liberals, and I'll give you an example, the Liberals are attacking Labor on their 50% renewable energy target, forcing us to get 50% of our electricity from wind, solar and hydro, very expensive. But the Liberals have got a 23% policy. You know, they say, well, it's not as bad as Labor's. Does either target make any sense to you?
Not at all, Andrew. We actually have to have coal-fire-based powers in Australia for our load that we have. Now, it's all right to develop wind power or solar or hydro. I've got no problems with that. We can possibly, if we put in the water, like the Bradfield scheme we want to do in Queensland, you can possibly get hydro from that. Electricity in Queensland is one of the highest in the country on your wholesale power, which is about 19.7 cents at the moment, just in January gone. So your power prices have increased 113%. It's a hip pocket. Families are struggling. They can't afford to pay the power increases, and businesses are also feeling the brunt of it as well, so they can't afford it anymore. When we get what can I say, the technology to actually store the energy, the batteries to store the energy that we can use the coal-fired when we don't want to use coal-fired-based power, that'll be fine. We should be tapping into more gas, which we could, rather than into wind or into the solar panels. That's not going to give us enough energy to run the country. And in the meantime, with this, we've got to have 23%, or got to have 50%. That's destroying our industries, manufacturing, our households who can't afford it anymore. We're stupid to go down that track until we have the technology in place.
Yeah, well, the Victorian Liberals today at least decided no more renewable energy target. I think Malcolm Turnbull, to fight you, needs to say exactly what you just did. But Pauline, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, we're out of time. Thank you so much for yours. Good on you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Coming up.
Bye.